Hey everyone, welcome to the second episode in my monthly series recapping all of Canada's major transit news. February saw lots of little announcements across the country to expand and improve bus service, but the case was quite the opposite in Windsor. One of the biggest stories is that Canada's high-speed rail project is finally moving forward with almost $4 billion of federal funding going towards the design and planning over the next 5 to 6 years. Montreal is also expanding its new metro system, the REM, amid reliability challenges. As always, if there's anything I missed this month, let me know in the comments. Aside from some changes to bus operators in British Columbia, the West Coast hasn't had much news this month, but in rural Alberta, communities are receiving $3.4 million in federal funding to purchase new buses and upgrade infrastructure of their transit systems. In Edmonton, the transit agency is upgrading their fare payment system, ARC, to become open payment, meaning that credit and debit cards will be accepted on fare readers. This upgrade is coming at no extra cost to the transit agency, which installed an older version of ARC readers a few years ago. Winnipeg Transit has also started to receive some of their hydrogen-powered buses as part of their trial of zero-emission buses. The city has also ordered 8 battery electric buses, which will be delivered soon. Zero-emissions technologies are exciting and definitely worth testing, but it's important to remember the significantly increased cost and that improving transit service, even with diesel vehicles, will be of great benefit to the environment by bringing people out of cars. Funding for the program is coming from the federal government's Investing in Canada infrastructure program, NCN Thompson bus lines, which will operate daily trips between northern communities and Winnipeg, providing a much-needed link between the communities. GoVa Transit in Sudbury has launched a program to install AEDs on all of their buses by the end of 2027. AEDs are incredibly useful and effective in life-saving, so the easy access on board transit vehicles will be incredibly helpful. Toronto and Montreal have had AEDs in subway stations for a few years now, but don't seem to equip their fleet, which is significantly larger, with them. Orlando's Lynx has also started to install AEDs on board buses there too. In Windsor, City Council voted 6-5 in favor of bringing back the Windsor Tunnel Bus, which they'd already voted to keep in their original 7-4 decision, which was vetoed by Mayor Dilkens. Under Ontario's strong mayor powers, City Council would need to have 2/3 or 8 votes to overturn the mayor's veto. The mayor's decision to cancel the tunnel bus is meant to keep taxes at the rate of inflation and remove what he considers a subsidy to Detroit and the US. This was a vital link for Windsor residents and workers who have commuted daily and no longer have a transit option, which is an incredibly disappointing end to the story. The City of Toronto is currently looking at improving transit on the waterfront, with bus lanes planned to be painted on Queens Quay East to improve the slow and unreliable 114 Commissioner's bus. These new lanes won't remove any car lanes, making use of existing curb lanes which don't allow stopping, parking, or driving. This is a quick and easy project that could have been done years ago, so it's a good step forward, but hopefully it won't become a replacement for the Waterfront East LRT, which desperately needs funding from all levels of government. A survey from the City of Toronto is also out about improving ferry service at the Toronto Islands with additions like better amenities and payment options, including Presto. It's great that the improvements are being considered, but integrating Presto and improving the stops is hardly something that needs surveys when the solutions are rather simple. The Confederation line in Ottawa, which has been plagued with issues since opening, is now being kept at a frequency of every 10 minutes during off-peak times instead of the every 5 minutes that residents were promised before opening. The move is expected to save the city $1.6 million annually, being justified by light to medium passenger loads, but it's this kind of service reduction that leads to reduced ridership. Transport Action Canada reported fleet availability issues that Via Rail is experiencing with their new Siemens fleet, with some windshields having been cracked while being stored outside in the cold. Siemens and Via are working on a resolution to this problem, and this has resulted in a couple of trips being cancelled on the Toronto-Ottawa corridor until at least March. Siemens Canada has partnered with Les Réseaux de Transport de la Capitale, or RTC, to build an app that will integrate all bus, bike share, car sharing, ferry, and taxi services in the Quebec City area. The integrated app will allow for trip planning and payment. Tramcité, Quebec City's tram project, is beginning to explore procurement, having held a market information session this month, although the project is still in very early stages. On to the biggest news of the month, we can finally say Canada is getting high-speed rail. However, specifics and the timeline are still unclear. The Via HFR Crown Corporation has been spun off into Alto, which will partner with Cadence, the private consortium developing the project. Cadence comprises of CDPQ Infra, Sistra, Atkins Realis, Keolis, Air Canada, and SNCF. It seems like the project will have a lot of French influence from both SNCF, which is France's rail operator, and CDBQ, which is based in Quebec. High-speed rail will follow a different alignment than the existing VIA services on the Toronto-Ottawa section, with an extra stop in Peterborough instead of Kingston, and then continue east towards Quebec City with stops in Laval, Montreal, and Trois-Rivières. Trains are expected to operate at speeds of up to 300 kilometers an hour, drastically cutting down on travel times. Over the next 5 years, Alto and Cadence will refine the scope of the project before continuing with further funding and construction. Construction is planned to take place in stages, so I would guess that HSR will most likely be operational between Ottawa and Montreal first, before the Toronto-Ottawa section, and then finally being extended to Quebec City. However, only time will tell how phasing actually takes place. Noticeably absent from the project is anything in southwest Ontario, which leaves out major cities like Hamilton, London, and Windsor. It'll be interesting to see how integration between Via Rail and Alto will take place, with 2 federal crown corporations for passenger rail up and running. Montreal's new metro system is ramping up for a huge expansion this year, while also struggling with reliability. Over the past couple months, REM users have experienced shutdowns made worse by recent snowstorms. In early February, there were 3 shutdowns amounting to almost 8 hours over the course of just 24 hours, prompting vocal frustration from riders, Quebec's transport minister, Brussels' mayor, the CDBQ, and REM itself. The REM has expressed that recent service provided by Alstom and Atkins Realis has been unacceptable and is currently working with this consortium to resolve the issues. 2 of the main winter weather challenges have been with brakes and switches not working properly in the snow. As a Torontonian, I wish Toronto's local politicians would be as vocal about the poor state of the TTC. Delays need to be avoided, but the REM's response makes it clear that they're serious about fixing the problems. The recent delays have led to major reductions in service, with trains currently only operating during rush hour and shuttle buses operating at all times. Both the REM and shuttle services are currently free, while issues are resolved, and service will change on a week-by-week basis depending on the progress of resolving these problems. The REM will also be shut down every weekend until late August, except for the Canadian Grand Prix weekend, to facilitate work leading up to the opening of the North and West Shore extensions of the REM in October. In the summer, the network will be closed for 4 to 8 weeks to facilitate system-wide testing. All of these closures are taking place to transfer all technical systems on the Deux-Montagnes and West Shore branch to the control center in Brossard, and to allow for testing between Brossard and the 2 extension points. The REM currently has non-compete agreements, which will mean any bus routes duplicating new REM service will be removed, but local politicians are requesting bus service be kept if the REM is still unreliable. Upon opening in October, there will be 3 REM lines. Ontario's provincial election took place on February 27, with Premier Doug Ford's Conservative government winning another majority. I never got to cover the transit platforms from any of the other parties because they were released in mid-February, but I'll be covering the Progressive Conservatives' promises, which should all be possible given they have a majority government. Premier Ford wants to upload Ottawa's O-Train to the province and give operations to Metrolinx, saving Ottawa money in their municipal budget. Giving the province control of the local metro system seems very unnecessary, and Metrolinx seems to have their hands full with 3 rapid transit lines delayed without any opening dates. Exciting news, though, is the promise of extending the O-Train with Stage 3 to Canada and Bearhaven. Other big news was GO 2.0, which involves building the missing link to change freight rail operations and improve GO service. GO 2.0 also includes building both the Midtown and Bolton GO lines. Other promises include every 15-minute all-day service to Kitchener and Niagara, extending the Lakeshore East GO line to Bowmanville, and extending the Hazel-McCallion line to Brampton GO and building the downtown loop in Mississauga. February wasn't the biggest month in terms of major investments and infrastructure projects, but sometimes it's the little things that count. Major cities don't always need a flashy new rapid transit line, because simply improving local bus services in both big and small cities can do a lot for transit riders. Thanks for watching.